You mentioned adding additional instrumentation to this album. You've got a couple of contributors who made some guest appearances on the last two tracks. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Sure. We had, when we were recording, Adam Tucker, who's the person who recorded it, and Sean Pearson, Sean owns Boxcar Sound Studios, where we recorded. Both of them contributed, like synths and textures to the whole record. As far as the last two songs go, the two main contributors are Laurel Mins, who worked with us on our song A Pessimistic Doomsayer like 4 years ago. And her band Minuscule, which is a 12-piece choir. The last song was co-written with Laurel. She and I sat down and put it together because it's a full choir piece utilizing her choir. And our really good friend Tanya, who plays in the band Bismuth, whose shirt I'm wearing right now, she added some piano and organ to the track, which was really fun because I love writing with Tanya. It's very fun, and we do it fairly often.
You mentioned working with Lauren before, but would you describe that's on the second to the last song as a little bit of a departure for your band?
I mean, I don't know if it's a departure as much as it's just a thing we did, you know? It's definitely different than anything we've ever done, but I feel like if you pay attention to all of our songs, there's always been kind of a sense of movement, and maybe grandiosity is not the word, but I'm a big musical theater nerd, and it touches everything that I've ever done. So there's always kind of a sense of a build in everything I've ever done. And this is as close to musical theater, I think, that I've ever gotten, just like straight up, because it's a full-on choir piece. That's like a 7.5-minute choir with like 36 or 48 vocals on it. Like it was just fun. Becky Laverty, who works for Prosthetic, described our band as experimental doom, and I really appreciate her throwing the word experimental in, because it just gives us license to not worry about sticking to a genre and just kind of doing whatever the hell we want to do. And I feel like that song, like the first half of the title track, is very much a really nice way to, I don't know, send that message home.
So as you mentioned, this album was recorded with Adam Tucker, who you've worked with since your first album. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, Adam mastered our first record, mixed and mastered our next EP, and then has recorded, mixed and mastered our last, Cast Aesthetic and Smoke, our last record, and this one, Glory, Glory, Apathy Took Helm. He's someone we feel super comfortable with. He's a wonderful human being. He really knows how to take a band and not mold them into how he wants them to sound, but to make them sound the best way that they can. And he and I are just like, I feel like he and I feel like I can speak for Vic in saying that also Vic and him, we're all just kind of very much on the same page at this point, and it's just really comfortable to work with.
So the album sounds like a big jump forward for you guys in terms of the sound and the production. What was different this time around? Did you guys have more time to work in the studio?
Oh no, we've never taken a long time to work in the studio. We recorded the whole album in we recorded it in 2 days and had a day of mixing. Same with the last record, we did it all in 2.5 or 3 days. I'm not a big fan of being in the studio. It's like fun to do, but I don't know. I don't like spending a lot of time making a thing. I like to make it and get it out. So this time we had Adam come to Hamilton. Adam owns Signature Tone Recording in Minneapolis, and we went there last time, and this time he came to Hamilton to record at Boxcar Sound, which is like 6 minutes from our house. And I just think the big difference for this record is we did not focus, like Vic said earlier, we didn't focus on how we're going to play the songs live. We just wanted to make as many rad textures as we could, and then we figured we'd figure it out later, and that was definitely a different approach that we enjoyed.
I mean, even besides the choir at the end, this sounds like an album that was made by a full band as opposed to a duo. Do you know what I mean by that? And I don't mean that to disparage your earlier recordings, but I think early on your albums really did sound like a sludge duo, two people recording together, and this sounds much fuller. Do you know what I mean?
I I guess I feel like I like in everyone's entitled to their own opinion, which I think is wonderful. I feel like the addition of synths probably helped fill out certain things in certain places. They make their appearance on almost every song. But yeah, it's funny because I think I used less guitar layers on this record than I did on any of the past ones. But I also changed around, it was just small things that Adam and I had discussed over the 6 months before we were recorded, just kind of figuring out how we wanted to do things differently while still sounding like us. And I feel like we accomplished that. So thank you. That's a compliment.
Yeah, it sounds great. Adam did a really good job. So this album will be released by Prosthetic, who also released a compilation of your earlier recordings. How did you get involved with them? How did they come to release this album?
Steve from Prosthetic sent us a message. He really liked the band. I think he was Steve's the US label manager, and I think there was a small discussion when we put out Cast of Static and Smoke. He was interested in putting out the CD version because we were working with Halo of Flies and Dry Cough in the UK, and the time frames just didn't match up. We recorded that record on January 4th, or sorry, on December 4th, and it was coming out right at the end of February or early March, so the turnaround was way too quick for them. And after we put the record out, Halo of Flies decided to stop releasing records, and Steve got in touch about us working with Prosthetic, and they've been really kind to us. They're really from the top down, from EJ, one of the owners, to Steve and Becky. It's been a true joy being a part of the Prosthetic roster because they allow us to just play music and not really focus on the other things, but keep us in the loop enough that we make all of the major decisions. It's just been it's the most artist friendly relationship with a label I've ever been in. That's not a DIY label.